All right, let's talk about something that's probably a constant nagging fear for any cyclist out there. You know the feeling. You're riding along, everything's going great, and then bam! In a split second, your entire world gets flipped upside down by a car door swinging open. So today, we're going to break down exactly what happens next, focusing specifically on the law here in Scotland. And that's the absolute terror of it, isn't it? It just happens. There's literally no time to react, no time to hit the brakes, no time to swerve. 1 second you're pedaling, the next you're hitting the pavement. So what are we actually dealing with here? Well, the official term is a dooring accident. And what's crazy is that it's one of the most common incidents a cyclist can face, and crucially, one of the most preventable. And the definition is, incredibly simple. It's when a cyclist gets hit by the opening door of a parked car. The cause? It's always the same thing. Someone in that car just failed to check if the coast was clear. It's such a simple lapse, but it has massive consequences, especially on those busy city streets where we're all trying to share the road. Okay, so this leads us to the really crucial question, right? Who is actually responsible when this happens? Well, the good news is, in Scotland, the law is surprisingly and refreshingly straightforward about this. There really isn't much of a gray area to debate. See, it all boils down to one specific rule, Rule 239 of the Highway Code. This puts a crystal clear duty on every single person in a vehicle. You must make sure it's safe before you open your door. You have to check for cyclists, for motorcyclists. It's not a friendly suggestion. It is a hard and fast rule. And because of that rule, the legal consequence is just as clear. If you don't follow Rule 239, that's considered negligence. Plain and simple. It means that the person who opened the door without looking, they're the one at fault. But wait a minute. You might be thinking, what if it wasn't the driver? What if a passenger flung the door open? Well, that's where things get a little more nuanced. If it's the driver, it's simple. The claim goes against their motor insurance. But if a passenger does it, that passenger is personally liable for their negligence. Now, sometimes the car's insurance policy might still cover them, but that really depends on the fine print of the policy itself. That's something a lawyer would have to dig into. Okay, but here's the question that always comes up. Could the cyclist be partly to blame? Maybe for where they were riding on the road? It's a fair question. And this is where we get into a legal concept called contributory negligence. And this really highlights the impossible choice cyclists face every single day. You're basically caught between a rock and a hard place. You can either ride close to the parked cars, in what we call the door zone, to stay away from traffic, or you can ride further out into the flow of traffic, risking a collision with a moving car. The courts totally get this dilemma. So as long as a cyclist is riding with reasonable care, they're not expected to be mind readers and predict a door is going to fly open. The main responsibility, the primary fault, stays with the person who didn't look. All right, so knowing the law is a huge first step. But how do you actually prove what happened if you need to make a claim? Well, if you're ever in a dooring accident, gathering evidence right away is absolutely 100% critical. Look, I get it. In the heat of the moment, it's chaotic and stressful. But if you can, try to remember these 4 key steps. First, document the scene. Take pictures. Second, look around for cameras, like CCTV on buildings. Third, talk to anyone who saw it happen and get their details. And finally, and this is a big one, preserve the evidence. Don't throw away your damaged bike or your torn gear. And let's drill down on what kind of evidence we're talking about. Photos of the scene, the car, your bike, all super important. Witness details, fantastic. But let me tell you, dash cam footage from your own bike, that is the absolute game changer. It's undeniable proof of exactly what went down. And don't forget your bike itself. It tells a story. The scuffs, the dents, they can all help experts piece together exactly how the impact happened. Of course, this isn't just about legal cases and evidence. We have to talk about the human cost, because these accidents cause real, significant harm, both physically and, just as importantly, psychologically. The injuries often happen in 2 stages. First, you've got the initial, violent impact with the door itself, and then there's the second impact, the fall onto the hard tarmac, or in the most horrifying cases, being thrown into the path of moving traffic. We're talking about everything from broken collarbones and nasty road rash to serious head injuries, and even the psychological trauma, that anxiety that can make it terrifying to get back on a bike. And there's a really important legal point here when it comes to compensation. You may have heard about the whiplash tariff, which limits payouts for some road accident injuries. Well, crucially, that does not apply to cyclists. What that means is a cyclist is entitled to compensation that truly reflects the full severity and the real-world impact of their injuries. It's a key distinction. So, with all that said, how do we stop these things from ever happening in the first place? I mean, sorting out liability and compensation is important, but preventing the accident altogether has to be the real goal, right? And this is where every single one of us has a part to play. And there's this simple, absolutely brilliant technique called the Dutch reach. And it's now officially part of the highway code. It works like this. Instead of using the hand closest to the door, you use your far hand to open it. Try it. It forces your whole body to turn, making you naturally look over your shoulder and in your mirror. It basically builds the safety check right into the action, so you don't even have to think about it. And really, this is what it all comes down to. A dooring incident is not some unpredictable freak accident. It's not just one of those things. It is the foreseeable and totally preventable consequence of one specific failure, the failure to just look. So I want to leave you with this one question. It's a simple challenge for every single one of us who ever sits in a car, whether you're behind the wheel or just along for the ride. It's a habit that costs absolutely nothing, takes less than a second, and it could save someone from a world of hurt. So the question is, will you check before you open?